Interesting thought process.
That's a great question. Oh, that's really hard. Oh my God, I didn't realize it was going to be like this.
Wow, that's a good question.
Another good but difficult question.
Welcome to Casual Conversations with your host, Mike Oppenheim.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike Oppenheim, and today I have a near and dear friend who I haven't spoken to in ages. Her name is Tatiana Bolshakova. She originally comes from Russia, but she is currently living in New York in the United States. I met her in, I think, 2012 or 13 or 14 or 15 when I was teaching English as a second language at a private school in San Francisco. We only taught adults, and we would usually have clients from companies and enterprises coming in to perfect their language skills. So Tatiana was someone that I taught at the highest level along with a good friend, and I was so happy when she got in touch with me a couple weeks ago, and so I scheduled this interview with her. So Tatiana, how's it going?
Thank you, Mike. I wouldn't even hope for this introduction. It was 2014, and when I arrived to San Francisco, I couldn't even answer a question where I was from. So it was like ground zero.
That's so weird because that's not at all how I remember it, but I guess I'm sure it's true. Maybe what happened is I started teaching you after you'd been there for a month. Is that possible?
I was there for 4.5 months, yeah, and I started to do something. I at least try doing something.
Well, I consider you fluent, and I definitely am speaking to you fluently right now, and I'm using all the words that come to my mind without filtering them, which when I was a teacher until 2016, I was used to regularly filtering how I talk to everyone at different levels, so I feel comfortable.
That's cool.
I'm going to jump all around in this interview, but as I kind of told you over email, you always fascinated me, and the reason why has absolutely nothing to do with anything from your life history or your life skills, of which both are impressive. The actual reason you always impressed me is I could see that you could see when someone was bullshitting, and that might sound weird, but it's a weird quality that I actually like, because it makes me feel safe, because then I know that if I accidentally or purposefully start to bullshit, the person can just see it and smile or get me to kind of like see that I'm doing it. And so, but the problem is a lot of people say they can do that and they can't, but I feel like you could. So first of all, do you somewhat or fully agree with my assertion that you have a great, what we call, bullshit detector?
I would say I completely agree with this. I do feel, yeah, I do feel something. It's you know what I think it's how it works when you're authentic in your feelings, your thoughts, your action. You expect the same from the others, and if you don't see it, you feel it. That's it. It's simple.
That makes sense. And then again, a lot of this is just kind of quick background stuff, so I don't make blunders in the later part of this conversation / interview. Did you work though also in for a firm where you were supposed to detect fraud? Is that correct at some point?
Yeah, I worked for Ernst & Young, international auditing company, in a fraud investigation department. But it wasn't I wouldn't say I needed to detect fraud, because I needed to see the numbers and to catch the numbers that stood out of the whole picture. And then maybe I would ask people who provided me with those numbers some questions. How did they get to it?
Got it. As a child, what did you see yourself, quote unquote, becoming with regards to a career?
Oh, I wanted to become somewhat famous, to create something really big, and to save people. I was an extreme liberal when I was a child.
For perspective, when were you born?
I was born in the Soviet Union, 1967.
Okay, cool. So just so our audience can kind of get an idea. So anyway, you were saying that as a child you did have this kind of vision thing, but then you became liberal, but did you outgrow it, or did it abruptly end?
No, I mean, when I was a child, I think I was born liberal, and then I lived this life, and somehow maybe I just ran out of any beliefs, because it's they're changing, and it's no way to follow those social beliefs or social norms. I mean, you need to follow the norms in your attitude among people, but to follow the norms in your emotions against something or someone, or for something or someone, it's doesn't worth it.
I write down quotes as people talk, and so when you say I ran out of beliefs, that's not only the most like quotable thing I could ever put down, but now I want to kind of ask you the weird like questions that I hope you're not used to getting, but I have a feeling you've probably heard a lot of these. But I'm an American born in 1981 at the peak of the end of the Cold War. So like the Cold War had many peaks, but the final harumph was like the early 80s. And then, of course, the Berlin Wall falls at the end of the 80s. And then instantly the world is cured of every problem and we're all good and happy. But when I was a kid, I was like trained to not just vilify the country you're from, but also like specifically communism. And now, many, many, many years later, in 2023, the subject of communism comes up very often in discussions in America, especially with the younger generation, of which I'm not a member of. I am just curious if you've A, noticed that, and B, have any thoughts about any of that.
Hey everyone, that's it for the free version of this podcast. If you want to hear the full one, just head over to mikeyop.com and become a premium subscriber. That's MIKEYOPP.com. Thanks for listening.